Hello, everyone. You're welcome to your basic science class today. So, we are talking about the skeletal system. We will know what the skeletal system is about. We'll talk about bones and joints in the body. We'll also know that the human body has, especially adults have 206 bones, they have cartilages, they have ligaments, they have tendons, and so on. All these are in the human, but they have muscles. And muscles and joints help for movement. Without muscles and joints, you won't be able to move. Okay, so let us dig in. Now, all the bones in our bodies make up the human skeleton. You are aware that you have bones in your body, right? You have bones. Some of them you can feel, some of them either on your knuckles or your forehead. You can see, everybody touch your forehead. Oh, yes, that hard part you're touching is this part. That's your forehead, that's part of your skull. You can see that the eyes do not have bones because they are sockets, they are like holes for into which our eyes fit. Even the nostrils. Touch your nose, that is cartilage, that is not bone. You don't have bone on your nose, it's what cartilage, except for a very, very tiny bone here. You can see that part there. That's the only bone on your nose. The rest is cartilage. Okay, so these are the bones of the human body. Now, names of some bones in the skeletal system. But before we see this, we need to know that the skeleton, the framework of the bony framework of the body. Remember, see what skeleton is. All the bones in our bodies make up the human skeleton. The skeleton is the bony structure of bony framework of the body. Mm? And the skeleton is what gives us support and shape. Support and shape. You know what support means? To support something. To be supported by something means you will not fall when you are supporting yourself. Maybe you are leaning on something to support yourself. You will not fall because that thing is supporting you. So also we won't fall because our bones are supporting us. Are you seeing how our bones can support us when we sit like this? They support us. We will not fall like a pack of uh, cards. Okay, so they also give us shape. You can see the shape. You can see that this is a human being because of the shape of the skeleton, the shape of the bones. So skeletons give us support and shape. And then different animals have different shapes because of the way their skeletons are built. So you already know that this is not a human being. This is not a human being's skeleton, but you know that this is a human being's skeleton. Do you understand? That's because of the shape of the bones. You can see this one has a long neck, a longer neck. This is a short neck, a hunched back like. Okay, so who can tell me and see the legs? Who can tell me exactly what this and this is? Let's label this A. What organism do you think this is? Then let's label this B. Write it down. I give you 2 minutes. Put a pause on the video. 1 minute for that matter. I'm counting 1 to 10. And then let's go on with the class. At the end of the class, we may know. Now, names of some bones in the skeletal system. There are bones in the skeletal system, and we need to know their names. The cranium or skull. Cranium or skull. This is the cranium or the skull. Okay, it covers the brain. The humerus. This is the humerus. This is the radius and ulna. There are two bones here. This is just one bone. This one is just one bone, but there are two bones here. One is the radius, the other is the ulna. Okay, the smaller one is called the ulna. Then these are the ribs. You can see it's forming like a cage. the ribs. Then this is the clavicle, the collarbone. Are you seeing the collarbone there? Yes, that's the clavicle, the collarbone. This is the scapula. The shoulder blade is a scapula. That thing that's like that's at the back of the shoulder there. Then we also have the bones of the finger are called. These are the phalanges. Then the carpals and the metacarpals. On the toes, we have on the feet, on our feet, sorry, we have the phalanges, the tarsals, and the metatarsals. Do you understand? Then we have the femur. Are you seeing how long it is? That's the longest bone in the human body. So after the femur, there are two bones here also, just like the hand, just like this one, the tibia and the fibula. After the tibia and the fibula, you can let's go to the back now. The back. This is a this is not one bone. It's not one bone. Okay, it's not one bone. You can see the joints here. You can see where they are joined to each other here there. So there are different shapes and different sizes. They all make up the vertebrae. Okay, they all make up the vertebrae and so on. So let's look at all their names. We have seen cranium or skull, humerus, radius, ulna, ribs, scapula, the shoulder blade, clavicle, the collarbone, femur, the longest bone, tibia, fibula, okay, the leg, on the leg, phalanges, we have seen phalanges, carpals, metacarpals, tarsals, metatarsals, etc. Now, that brings us to the number of bones in the body. We have seen only 15, right? But there are about 300 bones in a baby at birth. At birth, okay? An infant, a newborn, 300 bones. But some of them, one as the child is growing, they fuse together to give rise to 206 bones in adults. Okay, so the bones of a baby are very, very soft, and as the child is growing, some fuse together, they will join together until they become 206 bones in the adult. All right, so that's it. Some bones are protective in nature. That's their function. They act as protectors. Remember, bones give us support and shape. Now, bones can also give protection. How? Now, the cranium was called, this one here, protects our brains. It protects the brain. The brain is very, very delicate. The brain the brain is so, so important. But the brain is very, very soft. So our cranium, our skull, protects the brain from harm. You can remember the number of times that you have hit your head against the wall or something. You have hit your head, hit your head, hit your head. If the skull was not protecting your brain, I don't know. I don't know. So that's what the cranium does, okay? Now the ribs are 12 on each side. The ribs are what? 12 on each side, making 24 in total. The rib cage will protect the heart and lungs. You can see how this rib cage, the cage, is protecting the lungs. You can see the two lungs there, and then the heart also on the left side. So that is what the ribs do. That's what the rib cage does. So let's also see the vertebrae. Remember those bones at the back I told you about just now. They are tiny bones joined together at the back. They protect something very important called spinal cord. Okay? Okay. Now in our back we have what we call spinal cord. Mm? These bones will protect it because if that spinal cord was to have any sort of injury at, at all, some if it happens to anybody, somebody somewhere, that person will not be able to walk anymore. That person will become paralyzed. That's how important our spinal cord is because it controls all our feelings, all our sensations. Okay, so The femur is the longest bone. It is found in the thigh, okay? It's called the thigh bone. So these are now that takes us to joints, joints, joints. Let's take a look at joints now. All right. A joint is a point in the body where two or more bones meet. See all the joints that we can see here. This is a joint. That's a joint. Joints. You can see that two or more bones are meeting in these places. These are the joints in this body, on this body. These are the joints. Even the neck has a joint because you can turn. So because of these joints, you can see all the joints. They've pointed to some of the joints, not all. Because of these joints, we can move and bend because of our joints and muscles. You can see the muscles. Okay, so because of this joint here, we can flex our arm like this. Okay, and then you can see the biceps contracting, the type of muscle called biceps. Types of joints now, we have movable joints and immovable joints. Immovable joints are joints that cannot move. Now, for movable joints, we have example as pivot joint. It's found in the neck. Our pivot joint is found in the neck. It helps us to turn sideways and nod our heads as well as shake our heads. For gliding joints now, glide, like the name implies. We can move our wrists and ankles by gliding them. You know how to glide, right? So just move your ankle, your wrist up and down, and your ankles also up and down. You are gliding. Then that's a gliding joint there. Hinge joint, the one we saw just now on the elbow. This is a hinge joint. Hinge because it can move to only one direction. Hinge. You can move up and down like that. So that's a hinge joint. It's found in the elbow and our knees also. Ball and socket joint is found on the shoulder and the hip. This is the hip. Hmm? So why is it called ball and socket? Ball. This is the ball. That's the bone that forms, that just clicks into a socket joint there. So that's why it's called ball and socket joint. It's also found in the shoulders, okay? We also have immovable or fixed joints. They do not move. These are joints. You can see that the skull is not just one big ball, okay? It's several bones joined together. So they are called sutures. These joints are called sutures in the brain, on the brain. So remember what we have said today. Skeletons give our body support and shape. Some bones protect vital, important, delicate organs in the body. Okay, the ribs protect the heart and lungs, the vertebrae protects the spinal cord, our skull protects the brain, and so on. Joints and muscles also help us move, and then there are some joints that are immovable. Immovable means they cannot move, right? They are fixed joints. They are also called fixed joints, just like the joints of the skull and the joints of the pelvic girdle, okay? So you have a class activity. You have to draw the human skeleton. Draw this, draw this, draw this. It's very easy to draw, right? It's very easy to draw, okay? So just try. Use a pencil, be careful. So that's a cranium, there's a clavicle. Clavicle is the word collarbone. Point to it very well. Scapula, the shoulder blade. Humerus, this bone here. Ribs, radius, and ulna. Pelvis, and so on. So just try and draw the human skeleton, draw it neatly. I'll see you in the next class. And write all your notes. Write these notes. The notes are not long. Write them immediately. Bye.